Here to help separate fact from fiction, cheap shot from fair game, Air America radio host and MSNBC political analyst Rachel Maddow, Peter Beinart, senior fellow at the Council on Foreign Relations and Time magazine columnist, and A.B. Stoddard, associate editor of The Hill. Thanks to all of you for coming on. Appreciate it. The nasty attacks flying from both sides today, much of it stemming from this comment made by Bill Clinton on Friday.
I think it'd be a great thing if we had an election where you had two people who love this country and were devoted to the interests of the country, and people could actually ask themselves who's right on these issues, instead of all this other stuff that always seems to intrude itself on our politics.
All right, clear Clinton cheap shot, I think, in my first call tonight. Whether he meant it or not, this felt like a veiled swipe at Obama's patriotism. Now, that was Friday. The Obama camp certainly took it that way, and it's what ignited what has now become an all-out war. Today, the Clinton camp lashing out against Obama's Iowa co-chair, Gordon Fisher, who wrote in a blog, quote, "Bill Clinton cannot possibly seriously believe Obama's not a patriot and cannot possibly be said to be helping. Instead, he is hurting his own party. Clinton should never be forgiven, period. This is a stain on his legacy, much worse, much deeper than the one on Monica's blue dress." That is an Obama cheap shot. The Clinton camp calling this the most personal attack yet. Fisher apologized and took down the post. Comes on the heels of Obama military advisor Tony McPeak comparing Bill Clinton to Joe McCarthy for the patriotism comment. I'm going to give Team Obama another cheap shot for that one. If the Obama camp wants to ride the high horse here and claim its campaign is moving beyond the politics of the past, then they've got to rein in their dirt-spewing surrogates. Rachel?
I think you're right on this one. The blue dress comment was, A, it was disgusting, B, it was a gratuitous cheap shot, and C, it was completely politically stupid, because Hillary Clinton last week got dragged through the mud by the press, with them all going through her schedules, figuring out where she was when her husband was stooping Monica Lewinsky, and women, I think, were disgusted by that. It's another possibility for women voters to rally to defend Hillary Clinton from an unfair press, and the Obama surrogate bringing this up like this does all this work in terms of that issue that the Clinton campaign now doesn't have to do.
You know, A.B., do you think that this is a strategy on the part of the Obama camp to say, you know what, we are simply not going to let this stuff go and we're going to ratchet it up a level?
No, I think actually Gordon Fisher's comments were really off the reservation. I think they were tacky. I agree with Rachel. They were gratuitously rude. And the Obama camp actually knows that they don't use words like Ken Starr and Monica, because they know that it's some code for people to get out of bed in the middle of the night, go to the internet, and give money to Hillary Clinton in the party faithful. So they actually keep away from this. Gordon Fisher's made a huge error on behalf of the Obama campaign.
All right. Now, Peter, let me ask you about this. James Carville is taking enormous amount of heat for this comment about Bill Richardson's endorsement of Obama. He said, Mr. Richardson's endorsement came right around the anniversary of the day when Judas sold out for 30 pieces of silver, so I think the timing is appropriate, if ironic. I mean, does anyone really care? I mean, Carville is a great strategist, but he's not part of the Clinton campaign. Is this a media-created issue with Carville?
It may be a media-created issue, but it was also a pretty tactless and I think kind of ugly comment. And to go back to the original comment, the Bill Clinton comment, I think that was also a pretty remarkably awful comment to kind of imply that Barack Obama is less patriotic, because what's particularly problematic is about it buys into this idea that somehow to express anger at things that America has done wrong in the past makes you unpatriotic, and that's really sinister.
And I love the Clinton camp's response, clarifying Bill Clinton's comment. President Clinton was talking about the need to talk about issues rather than falsely questioning any candidate's patriotism. I mean, you know, this is, I mean, I should have probably given them another one for this, but this is also dishonest. I mean, this response from the Clinton camp that everyone's just faking it. I mean, yeah. It's maddening to some degree.
I don't know. The larger context of this, I don't know whether Bill Clinton really intended to imply that Barack Obama doesn't love his country. If he implied that, if that was deliberate, if that was on purpose, if they're willing to defend that, especially if he's willing to do it again, he deserves the McCarthy label and anything else you can throw at him. I do think there's a question as to whether or not he really meant it, but they better come up with some excuse better than that clarification.
I mean, Peter, it seems it's hard, I think, to justify it as a mistake on the part of Bill Clinton.
Well, particularly when you look at the second half of the sentence, which is basically, if you don't want this other stuff to be involved, i.e., race, then just have the two white guys running. I mean, we could not have to deal with all these unfortunate racial issues if we never nominate non-white people. And I think that was, at least that's what I heard when I listened to the statement. I think it was very unfortunate.
All right, look, the Clinton camp is getting a strike here for Bill Clinton's original comments / their response. Again, we gave Clinton already strikes last week on this one. But Obama gets 2 strikes for the blue dress and the Joe McCarthy comments. Next up, the Clinton camp once again moving the goalposts. Instead of basing this on who has more pledged delegates, or who's got more of the popular vote, or who's won more states, the Clinton camp has come up with a new measure to try to sway superdelegates.
We do elect presidents based upon the Electoral College, so who carried the states with the most Electoral College votes is an important factor to consider, because ultimately that's how we choose the President of the United States.
Total Clinton cheap shot for so many reasons. First, the Electoral College votes aren't counted in primaries. This Electoral College theory presumes that in the general election, Obama can't win the states that Clinton carried, sometimes narrowly, in the primary. Clinton also has a hypocrisy problem. Back in 2000, she said about the Electoral College, quote, "We're a very different country than we were 200 years ago. It's time to do away with the Electoral College and move to the popular election of our president." I mean, AB, she gets stung on this one.
It's really weak, but I always found math so inflexible as well. It's just those numbers are really tough. She's trying to find a number where she's ahead. She wants to be 219 to who's 202. The states that she's won that has those Electoral College votes that you mentioned, because he is ahead, almost 2-1 in states won, ahead in popular vote by 700,000, ahead in pledged delegates by 167. She needs a good number, Dan.
Yeah, but Rachel, I mean, as a rational person, when you're evaluating this theory of the Electoral College doesn't make any sense in the context of this primary.
No, and politically, it's pathetic. I mean, this is like arguing that, states that have the letter R in them are inherently less valuable than states that don't have the letter R in them. I mean, it's obvious why they are spinning. They're trying to desperately trying to come up with some way to make it look like Obama isn't ahead. But honestly, this is a close race, but Obama is ahead.
But the fact that we have that quote from Hillary Clinton back in 2000 talking about the need to get rid of the Electoral College, now she's putting it in a place where it doesn't even exist in the primaries.
To have Evan Bayh even just on its face saying, we decide presidential elections with the Electoral College. Yeah, that's later though. Yeah. That's a different part. There's also usually a Republican then. It's
Go ahead, Peter.
There's only really one thing. Their chances of winning the nomination, Hillary Clinton's, are really remote. And the only thing that could win it for them were there to be such a massive Obama meltdown that people felt he was going to lead the party to disaster in the fall. That's why superdelegates were created, to prevent George McGoverns, who would lead the party to electoral disasters. It's very hard to imagine that people are going to see Barack Obama that way, but that's the only chance the Clintons have.
Yeah, I mean, and now, look, this is what they're saying. They're saying, oh, well, if the electoral votes counted based on the states that each of them have won, it would be 219 to 202.
We should do states that don't have R in them. I mean, you can just.
I'm giving Clinton a strike on this one. It gives us 2 strikes against Clinton and 2 against Obama. Up next, to debate or not to debate. That's the question for Hillary Clinton. The Obama camp has already accepted an invitation to debate Clinton next month in North Carolina on CBS. But the Clinton camp not committing to take part.
We are going through a number of scheduling issues over the next several weeks, and I don't mean to, kick the can down the road, but let's touch base in a little bit once we have a better sense of what our next few weeks will look like.
I'm going to rule this Clinton blunder. What sort of scheduling issues could they have that would be more important than a debate that could be her only hope? This ambiguity coming from the same team that put out this ad against Obama in Wisconsin.
Democratic candidates were invited to a televised debate here in Wisconsin. Hillary Clinton has said yes. Barack Obama hasn't. Maybe he'd prefer to give speeches than have to answer questions. Wisconsin deserves to hear both candidates debate the issues that matter, and that's not debatable.
I mean, how does she get away with this? I mean, this is purely ridiculous, the notion that he's now accepted the debate. She's saying, I don't want to kick the can down the road too much, but we will. And they put out ads in Wisconsin which said that he's scared to debate her.
for 20 debates, nothing and no one could get in between Hillary Clinton and a debate. Okay, not even, I don't know, Dick Cheney or some powerful force of nature. The thinking goes that when you are a front runner, you try to dodge debates, but when you're coming from behind, you're desperate for a debate. Maybe after Ohio and Texas and poised to win Pennsylvania, she's deciding there's a question she might not want to answer because it could throw her off her stride. But this is not a scheduling matter. That is,
of course it's not.
That is not. They're not telling the truth.
Rachel, what's the strategy behind? I mean, is it that she's now viewing herself as the front runner again because she won Ohio?
Well, I think that right now their strategy is to try to keep as many balls in the air at any time. They're trying to make lots of ambiguity, come up with lots of different arguments, keep things very fuzzy so people don't conclude that Barack Obama is ahead. I'm just remembering sitting in this seat talking with you right around the time of the Wisconsin primary about how this race hadn't gotten so dirty. Maybe he'd rather give speeches. I remember mocking them that this wasn't that tough. The campaign has come so far and gone so low since then.
All right, I'm giving Clinton the strike on this one, giving us 3 strikes for Clinton and 2 for Obama heading into the break. All right, Rachel, Maddow, I know you got to go. Thank you very much for joining us. AB and Peter are going to stick around.